Good evening, everyone. I'm C. Emergent, moderator of this webinar, and we are delighted to welcome you all in the webinar being organized by CCLEA and NPO Committee of ICI. It is my pleasure to be a moderator in webinar on RERA compliance beyond registration, ensuring successful project completion, being organized by Committee on Commercial Laws, Economic Advisory, and NPO Cooperative of ICI. In a short while, we will start this webinar. I would like to apprise you about CCLEA and NPO committee. So this committee is focused to encourage chartered accountants to shape strategy and policy that unlocks economic, financial, and social value while combining analytical foresight with commercial acumen. One of the core areas of this committee is to serve the multifunctional task of analysis, knowledge dissemination, inputs to regulators on policy formulation, and to develop and publish technical guide, background materials, etc., and to create awareness for professional opportunities for chartered accountants in commercial laws, economic advisory, and NPO cooperatives. Our eminent speakers will talk RERA compliance beyond registration, ensuring successful project completion in this webinar, and we hope that the same shall be useful to members. With this note, I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Sri Amit Kedia ji, and before that, I'd like to introduce about him. So Mr. Amit Kedia ji is a practicing chartered accountant, a senior partner in Gopal Sharma and Company. Through his more than 15 years of career, he has become recognized for his contribution and expertise as a knowledgeable professional, advisor and consultant in the field of RERA, litigation, arbitration, SEBI, social stock exchange, SME, startup listing advisory, labor law, ECV, FEMA, IFSC, forensic, due diligence funding, with a core expertise in finance, specifically fundraising across various products. He has been serving entrepreneurs and various corporate. He is a social auditor with Institute of Social Auditors of India. He is in working on various platforms for various topics with regard to professional knowledge, sharing, and having in-depth knowledge about his subject. He has delivered lectures on various chapters of the Confederation of Real Estate Developers Association of India, that is CREDAI. He is also advising projects across country and seeing RERA matters in authority as well as in tribunals. He is associated with Confederation of Indian Industry, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and he is a proud member of the ICI RERA Study Group, task force formed by the Committee on Economic, Commercial Laws and Economic Advisory of ICI. Some more about his qualifications. He is a social auditor. He has done certification in social auditors by NISM. He has done certification course on NPOs. He has done certification course on ADR, that is arbitration, mediation, and conciliation. He has done certificate course on forensic accounting and fraud detection organized by ICI. And he has also done workshop on hedge funds and private equity by ICI. So with this, a brief introduction of our today's speaker, Mr. C.A. Amit Kedia, sir. I would like to welcome him on this virtual stage with a huge round of applause. The stage is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Amar, for this introduction. And I would like to thank the Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the Committee of Commercial Law and Economic Advisor, and NPO Cooperative. In absentia, I would like to thank our Chairman, C. Abhay Chajarji, and our Vice Chairman of the Committee, A. Pramod Jainji, for giving this opportunity for discussion with our members with an upcoming opportunity. This opportunity is upcoming. It's been like almost 8 years, but every time I would always love to say it's an upcoming opportunity because the reason for which I would be sharing and discussing today with all the members. And it would going to remain upcoming for years. So whenever and whoever enters at any given point of time, it is said that you would not going to miss the opportunity. It's like similar, like it said that somebody have missed the bus or somebody have missed the opportunity. In this RERA, it would not going to happen anytime. Whenever you start, it would be a day of a new day, and it would be as equivalent opportunity to someone who have started way back in 2016. Because the underlying reason for it is that the roti kapda makan, the these three things would never going to end in the human cycle. And RERA is all about makan. So friends, just for a brief background, if you all can access the chat box, then would like that if you can apprise that if you can tell me that are you aware of the RERA? Are you been an idea about what the RERA Act is? If you can apprise me with yes, no, or having said that, like we have a fair idea, we have a basic idea, that would going to help me in creating my depth in understanding the members who are joining this webinar today. Having said that, I am taking an understanding that we all have a basic idea with some more idea to understand about RERA. So I would be touching a less on the basics. Just giving will be giving you an overview towards it. Would not be going in depth to the RERA Act, but parallelly would be touching upon some of the important sections. Then we would be understanding how, after registration, a completion is to be done successfully. Because being 8 years in formation, being 8 years when the RERA Act have been enacted, now it have reached towards some maturity where the initial teething issues which were there in regards of the registration, the basic compliance, now there are some steps which have been moved forward with. So if we see today's session, like we would be covering about the basic milestones, how the importance of some of the important sections, then what are the compliances which are required to be done post registration in addition to the professional opportunity which we as chartered accountants are having. And in the registration, in the compliances, how important is the completion certificate and the uh, compliance for the completion. That is all like we would be understanding in today's session. So at any given point of time, friends, if you have any question, please feel free to put on the chat box. I will try to stop then and there, or maybe after few minutes or so, and would try to give answer to that question first, and then going to move forward. So I can understand that we are sitting far away, we are virtually connected, but if you would be keeping and your question posted, I would going to ensure that you would not going to get a feel that we are in a webinar and it would be a one-to-one interaction which we would be doing among ourselves. So how this act, I was again and again telling, like the opportunity would not ever going to get reduced in the RERA. Having said that, it was way 2016 when the act got enacted, and it was way 2017 when it got implemented. So after around 8 years also today, if we see, it looks like to be afresh, it looks like to be absolutely new, and it looks like that it was just introduced yesterday only. Why this looks to be that it got introduced yesterday only? It is evolving so much. There are so many things which are coming day after day that it's never felt that it's a thing which have gone old. Every day there is something new which is coming. And the most beautiful thing about what is happening is, like, apart from the act being a central act, that is the Real Estate Regulatory and Development Act 2016, it is having its own regulations at the state level. So, in spite of being a single act, because of the regulation, there are lot many, uh, you can say, different points, different things which keep on coming, which are coming. And this is the reason why I am saying that the act maybe of 2016, but every day it is evolving in such a manner that it always looks that it's new. So, friends, way back 2016, the act was there, and the reason why the act came into enactment was because there was lot of indiscipline which was there in the real estate sector. And because of this indiscipline, many of the allottees have burned their fingers. And because of this whole fiasco, the central government decided that there need to be a regulatory body similar to a body which is like SEBI. SEBI is a body which regulates the capital market. But here, the RERA, as similar to SEBI, a regulatory body, because of the enactment got incorporated, land being a state subject, there was the power was given to the states to form the rules in regards to this act and to bring the transparency, to give accountability to the developers who are developing, and the work, the real estate development work, the deliverables needs to be done in an efficient manner. So that was the core reason, that was the core background why the act came in force. And it was a thought that the consumers needs to be protected. There needs to create a transparency between the consumer, the developer, and the other stakeholders. Having said that, because of this, there was misguidance which was going on to the consumer, and there was no fair practice which was adopted. Having said that, some of the developers used to charge whatever they used to love to charge. They didn't had any consistency in spite of giving the timelines of project being completed, in spite of giving the value in which the deliverables are to be given. In spite of all this, the same were not followed. So, a fair practice, a transparent manner was required. Friends, as you all are knowing that real estate is the second biggest contributor in our GDP. And when now by 2030, when we are expecting this real estate sector to be of around $1 trillion, then you can understand how important the sector would be for our GDP. In addition, the way we are growing and we would be touching $1 trillion in another 5 years, and without any uh, development being registered with real estate regulatory authority, no development could be done if that development is required to be sold, and if that development is more than 500 square meter or 8 units. So you can assume how big the opportunity would going to increase in time to come, how multifold this activity of RERA would going to increase in time to come. So the RERA established the regulatory authority, and then it standardized all the terms, maybe of the carpet area, maybe of the sale price, maybe of the value, and it went mandatory for the developers who, as told, are developing more than 8 units or developing in an area more than 500 square meters. So in this manner, the RERA Act came in force way back 2016. Maharera was the first to establish the authority in 2017, and it was followed by Gujarat, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, and West Bengal in 2018 came with a different act, but it got repealed in 2023. There was RERA only in West Bengal also. In case of the other states, slowly and gradually during the years 2018-19, the authority got established, and there was many states which were doing an awareness program, and because of these awareness program, there had been a lot of awareness in regards of the act. Then, way back in 2024, uh, post-COVID, when COVID era ended from 20 to 23, then there was a lot of enforcement of the orders which had happened during this last 5 years. And because of this enforcement, the transparency again got increased, and there were a lot of consumers who have gone for the implementation of the orders. And the confidence now in 2025 have increased multifolds. Now the consumer says that if RERA is there, then they are in a comfortable zone in getting their project registered, in getting their plot or their flat being purchased. Having said that, if anything goes wrong with them post RERA registration by the developer and after selling by this developer, then they have a window where they can go and approach these consumers. This is how, and this is the manner in which the RERA have increased its visibility. In this manner, it is like the RERA which have given the strength to the consumer now in these days. So after this implementation, if we see, if we see that the RERA authority is uh, if we have seen how the RERA authority have implemented in various states and union territories. So out of the 32 states and the Union Territory, there are almost 27 regulatory bodies which are there. And places like Ladakh, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Sikkim, the authority is still not yet formulated. And in regards of the tribunal, if we see, there are 28 out of the 28 states, leaving Arunachal, Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, and West Bengal. Almost in all the states, the appellate tribunal have been set up. If we see the number of projects which are there across the country, so there are almost 1,42,506 real estate projects which are there in the whole country, which are being registered. And if we see the agents, they are almost near to 1 lakh agents which are registered across the country. So, friends, you can see how big is the opportunity. 1,42,000 projects which are there registered. It might be like out of these projects, 30% of the projects are being completed. But then also, if we see whole of the country, they are active around 85 to 90,000 projects, which are still active as of now. And a lot of work is to be required to be done for these projects to we would be understanding in our later slide. So the regulatory authority, if we see, there were complaints which had came in the RERA authority. So almost 1,40,000 complaints have been disposed of. So see the quantum of the work which this real estate act, that is in terms of RERA, is having. How big is the opportunity for us? So might be friends who have joined, might be working in RERA, might be friends who are uh, yet to or the topic is absolutely new. So I'm just trying to bridge between the friends who are uh, in practice of RERA and the friends who are yet to start the practice or who are yet to evaluate how like the RERA opportunity is uh, there. So if we see the relevance for we as chartered accountants, then the compliances, the auditing, the advisory role, that is a major thing which we can do. Because if any of the financial reporting or audit is required in a real estate or any of the due diligence, if so required, the forensic audits, if required, these all are being performed by the chartered accountant. And undoubtedly, the RERA authorities are appointing chartered accountancy firm for the forensic audit of the projects which had been incomplete or which have not delivered on time to the consumer. So these are some of the important sections which, for a background, I am assuming that we should try to know and understand. I have just tried to segregate these sections in the formation of the, you can say, the families which they initially and on a prima facie involved. So if I tell you seriously, whole of the act is such a small act that in 19 section, the whole of the act is covered. And you can understand the gravity and dynamics of the act that these 19 sections controls the whole of the real estate, which is the second biggest contributor of GDP. So if you work upon the cost benefit. The cost is understanding and learning 19 sections, and the benefit is getting exposed to the second biggest contributor of GDP, that is the real estate sector. So, if we see in terms of registration, if we go for any registration of a real estate project and its basic compliances, then section 3, 4, and 5 covers everything. It covers the majority of the registration part, the formulation in which the registration needs or required to be done. Then, if the project is not completed in a timely manner and an extension is required, then it would be section 6 and 7, which would be covering the extension of this real estate project. And if at any given point of time the project is to be revoked, the revocation could be on a suo motu basis, that is by the authority, or on a suo motu that the project, the developer does not want to continue with the project, then the revocation of that registered project can be done under section 8. The registration in regards of the agents are to be done in section 9 and 10, and the major duties of a promoter are covered in section 11, 12, 13, and 14, where it covers maybe the registration of document, maybe the type of advertisement, maybe the disclosures which are required, all are covered in section 11, 12, 13. In case the project is not being continued by the real estate developer and they want to transfer this project to a third party, then it would be covered under section 15, and the insurance of the project would be covered under section 16. Again, if the title or handover of the possession, all these sections are being captured under section 17, and if in case a consumer money is required to be paid back, that is, if the project is not being completed on time, it is not delivered, then in that case, section 18 comes in picture, wherein the return of the amount and the compensation are being captured. And lastly, the rights and duties of the allottees is being covered under section 19 of the Act. So, in total, these 19 sections would going to give a fair idea about the whole real estate project and whole RERA Act. So yes, these are the major 19 sections which are there. Then there are some sections which covers the offense, penalty, and adjudication. That is more or less from section 59 to section 72. And friends, you can understand that in RERA Act, no penalty is less than up to 5%, and it can go up to 10%. So you can understand the gravity of this penalty. And this penalty is on what? This penalty is on the project cost of land and the project development cost. So combined together, whatever value is coming, then the penalty is imposed on that value. So you can understand how big the stakes of a developer is. If the land cost is of say 50 crores and the development is of 50 crores, and in totality the project is of 100 crores, you can assume if a penalty of 5% or 10% is imposed, then how big the gravity could be. It can be from 5 crores to 10 crores. So these are the big stakes which are being involved in the real estate projects, where any other violation of the RERA Act has been done. So you can understand how important we as chartered accountants, we as professionals become for these projects. And in a similar manner, we can advise and give consultancy to our clients. So, friends, the basic idea of today's was to understand more in depth of the latest developments which are happening. So, definitely the registrations which keep on coming, registration which keep on going. In addition to these registrations and uh, the compliances are becoming more important because there is a leap of and a piling of many registration, many projects which are yet to be completed, which are yet to do their compliances, and majorly they need to now the time after 4 to 5 years of projects being registered or at the initial stages where the projects got registered, they need to now submit their completion to the RERA authority. So finally, the registration thing, we have understood that the project got registered and it was a good symbol, it was a gesture which happened. So I've just depicted with two of the people like a developer and a professional who is like talking to and there's an interaction which is going on between both of them where the professional is trying to congratulate this developer and trying to tell him like yes it's good that you have completed your registration, that's wonderful, but now you need to understand about the compliances, you need to fulfill post registration how these compliances need to be done, and he's trying to go to a walkthrough with these developers uh, uh, who have got themselves registered. So, friends, if we talk the prima facie, the most important and again the first opportunity which we as professionals, we as chartered accountants can get is the advertisement. Many authorities are taking a suo moto cognizance of those advertisements which are not being properly furnished, which are not being properly published across the country. So it is not specific to any of the state. It is across country where the RERA authorities are now taking cognizance of the advertisement. It's not new from last several years they are taking, but now the RERA authorities assume that the developers have become mature enough, they should now abide with the rules and the regulations which have been there since last past many years. So if we go through it, the advertisement must have a RERA registration number. it should always have a RERA website address of the RERA authority where the project have been registered. Then the font size of the registration number needs to be visible one. It needs to be large and it should not be like uh, less than half the size used for the name of the project. So there are many authorities which have given guidelines for these advertisements, and many of them are yet to give. But if we understand the general understanding of the authorities and the act, the basic thought is that it needs to be a readable one. It needs to be one which, if somebody wants to see and take action with, then they can take accordingly. So that is the most important thing, which is being expected from the RERA authorities now with the developers who get themselves registered. So starting with the project, that was the basic registration detail which was there required to be placed by the developers. If we see in terms of the pictures needs to be clear picture if they are putting in place, and they should not be misleading. All the testimonials should be original and genuine, and there should not be any promises which the developer would not going to fulfill or which are not being covered in the advertisement. That need to be ensured and taken care of. And in terms of any of the updates, they need to put in the updates in the website, and there need to be a disclaimer which needs to be reported in the advertisement itself, that the responsibilities and duties and the exposure towards it. So these are the basic things which needs to be taken care and which needs to be addressed. And the prima facie and the most important thing is this advertisement could not happen without taking a RERA registration number. So any advertisement which is without uh, or with which is before taking a RERA registration is a gross violation. And the RERA authority, in both the circumstances, that is, if the advertisement is not being done properly, can put a cost up to 5%, or in case an advertisement is done without taking RERA registration, then also a cost up to 5% can be imposed by the authority. So you can understand how important it becomes for a developer to get his advertisement vetted, his advertisement checked by a professional where there is no flaw which is left over in that advertisement. Now, moving forward, if we talk about section 13, which is acceptance of money, then in that case, not more than 10% of the value of the consideration could be accepted by a developer before getting the agreement to sell being registered. So, registration of an agreement to sell post get 10%, that is, before you get 10%, you cannot take even a single penny before you get it registered. It's a compulsion which needs to be adhered, which needs to be followed. And the reason because this is being followed is, and this should be followed, and the act have guided is, it used to happen that 80-90% of the payment used to be taken by the developers, and the developer didn't give a correct picture of the amount. And later on, when the allottee used to come and used to connect to the developer, then in that, just hold on, there's some technical chart. Okay, fine. Can you please help me? Like, my screen is visible. It stopped now. Which happened. Thank you for guiding. Uh, okay, thank you very much. So, uh, so what used to happen? 80-90% of the payment used to be given by the allottees to the developer, and the terms and conditions were not clear. Maybe the day of delivery, maybe the total payment, and etc. etc. So with this, the developers have now need to ensure that post, or rather pre 10%, they are giving a fair agreement to the buyer, who is now understanding everything in black and white. What is his responsibility as a allottee? What are his rights as a allottee? And similarly, for the developer, that what are his responsibilities, and in responsibilities, the major thing is when the deliverables would going to happen in regards of such project which he is or she is booking. So to curb everything, to understand in detail, this agreement to sell needs to be there before getting any amount more than 10%. In addition, it needs to be registered. So why all these things are getting important nowadays? The importance of these things is becoming more important nowadays is because now the RERA authorities is taking so much of cognizance of these. And if any of the developer is found guilty of any of these malpractices, then the completion of this project get stalled in a form that he is not able to then complete his project, maybe because of the penalties, or maybe of the uh, actions which are being taken by the RERA authority. In addition, if any of the actions are being taken in these previous projects, then the RERA, some of the RERA authorities are not allowing them to come up with any of the future, or you may say new projects. So it's a double sword with a developer if he is doing any of these violations. Neither he is able to fulfill or complete his previous commitments, nor he is able to come up with new projects. So that is the reason these are becoming very crucial, very critical for the completion of any of the projects. Now, as professionals, maintenance of separate account, managing of these separate accounts are becoming more important nowadays. Having said that, these separate accounts are to be certified by chartered accountants. So maybe from the initial opening of this account, when these accounts needs to be opened before registration, many of the developers, or rather I can say many of the banks also, have a very big confusion that would these separate accounts needs to be opened before RERA number, before RERA registration, or it would be done post RERA registration. In terms of the deposits in the amount, how the deposits needs to be routed, how the amount needs to be withdrawn from a separate account, what are the forms, certificates. So one form is to be given by a statutory auditor, one form is to be given by a chartered accountant who is giving an compliance or a advisory service to these projects. Then these forms needs to be reported to the RERA authorities, and the if any change in these accounts are required or any closures in accounts are required, then there are guidelines which are being published by various RERA authorities in their rules. So the basic act says, the RERA Act Section 42 LD says that you need to keep a separate account, and the withdrawal from that separate account could be done in proportion to the work which have been done. But the rules are now detailing, giving a broader sense how these accounts needs to be operated, how these accounts needs to be closed, and if any changes are required in these accounts, and how they need to be implemented. So that is the reason now the separate account compliances. It was important previously also, but now it is important, becoming more important. Having said that, now the allottees are claiming that give us the detail of the separate account. Separate account in terms of, like, if my money have been typed off, if the developer used my money somewhere else or not. To that extent, now the allottees are demanding to give details of the separate account. So in this manner, the importance of maintaining this separate account had now become crucial and important. So, in a broad sense, if we understand, then there need to be three accounts which are there, out of which one account needs to be a collection account where the money is being received. Once the money is received in that collection account, then it is splitted into the money is splitted in two parts. One is a separate account wherein 70% of the amount goes, and one is the 30% account where amount goes, and then in proportion to the work which have been completed, the amount could be withdrawn from this separate account. In addition to a chartered accountant, an architect and an engineer is also required to give this certificate to this project, wherein combined together the eligibility of the amount which is required to be withdrawn is ascertained. So this separate account, this certificate could be given by the chartered accountant who is on the advisory side, who is taking care of the compliance. If we see on regards of the annual statement, that is a statement which is required to be given at the end of the financial year, then this statement is required to be given by a chartered accountant who is an auditor of this project. And it is to be given within 6 months of end of the financial year as per the Act. But various authorities have now taken a cognizance and have changed this 6 months to maybe 9 months or 12 months as the case may be, because uh, the audit itself gets completed on the last day of the end of the financial year, 6 months last day of the end of the financial year. So it becomes cumbersome for an auditor to give a certificate also and get it complied and get it complied at the income tax deadlines also. So just to separate these two deadlines, many of the RERA authorities have now shifted it from the end of the financial 6 months from the end of the financial year to 9 months of the end of the financial year. And one thing which we need to remember always is these chartered accountants, both the chartered accountants, needs to be separate one. That is the chartered accountant who is giving the certificate at the completion of the project, at the compliance of the project, needs to be different from the annual statement chartered accountant who is giving this statement on the year end. So friends, this is what we have understood in regards of the advertisement, in regards of the agreement to sell, and in regards of the separate bank account which a chartered accountant needs to take care in terms of the compliances from the bank's perspective. Now, if we understand what are the other important areas which, as a chartered accountant, we need to take care for a successful completion of a project, then we can understand that at times it happens that the project timeline which have been given by a chartered accountant uh, in consultation with his client, that the project timeline, the project would be completed in such manner, in such time, and this value. At times, there are circumstances where it needs for a modification, where they needs that these timeline needs to be changed. So the project needs for a extension. So extension is required to be filed in such cases. And where the extension is required from the finished date, then again a role of a professional comes in place. One thing which is most important here to understand is that when an extension is required to be filed, then that extension should not be beyond the period from which the original map was approved. That is, if the sanction date is having is said to be say 2025, 31st December 2025, and if a promoter wants that he wants an extension, then he cannot apply for an extension which is beyond 31st December 2025, because the maps itself are being sanctioned till that. In addition, the project extension could be seen for just a year. The RERA authority have a right to extend the project beyond 1 year in only special circumstances. So, in those special circumstances, if the project is not following, then in those cases, it would not be applicable and the extension may be denied by the RERA authority. So, what is the crux and gist? At the time the registration is being done, the developer needs to give a correct time frame in which the project would be completed. If we have done mistake at that initial, if we have done a mistake at that initial stage, then in that case, he would going to feel repercussions of the same in the later coming time to come because his project is not completed. He wants an extension, and if the extension is being denied, then the RERA authority might give project to the allottees, or if the allottees also deny, then the RERA authorities can take this project from the developers. So see how big powers the RERA authority is having with it. Then the most important thing is the quarterly progress report and the annual progress report, which needs to be submitted to the authority. Again, these progress reports are to be given in a timely manner. If these progress reports are not given in the timely manner, then again there would be issues in regards of any of the completion compliances and might be the RERA authorities may deny to give any new registration to the project, to the same promoters. This is how important it becomes. Again, it might happen that the promoter had gone to a particular project with a certain specified sanction plan, and later on we decide that these plans needs to be revised. Then a revision application might be given by a promoter to the authority. Again, the completion would be done on the revised plan. So, if the promoter does not goes to the RERA authority and get the plans revised, then he might face problems where the completion certificate, the plan which is there in the completion certificate and the plan which he had submitted to the RERA authority, there would be a difference between these two. Again, in case the count needs to be changed, in case there is any encumbrance status which is being changed, these all needs to be updated and modified with the RERA authorities from time to time. Might be modification of the promoter profile or the project profile. They all are required to be done in a timely manner for a proper completion of a project. Because whenever a completion would be filed and there would be a difference between the completion which have been filed and the project which was initially registered with the authorities, then in that case, the authority would not going to accept that completion certificate. The data which is there with the RERA authorities and the data which is there in the completion certificate should match in a thinking manner. There should not be any difference because the authority would not going to do a reconciliation of like what you have submitted and at the initial time of the registration and what you have submitted at the time of completion. So any gap reflected in it would then going to lead to a stoppage of a completion which is required to be done. So these are the important parts which you need as a professional needs to take care and address. And each of these is an professional opportunity. If the client is seeking any of these facilities, any of the advisory, or any of execution of this, then it becomes a professional opportunity by guiding the client, by assisting him and by executing the required matters to the client. Now, the project which is not completed and you see a extension for that project, then we need to just check whether the construction of that project is completed or not. If the construction of the project is completed, then we just need to take a completion certificate and an occupancy certificate of that project in different states. There are different manners, there are different guidelines which have been issued by that respective state. As told to you previously, the land subject is a state subject in our country. So there are separate guidelines for that particular state in terms of recognition of their completion certificate and occupancy. And once this completion certificate and occupancy certificate is there with the developers, then the developer can hand over the possession of the units and the common area to the allottees. In case the construction of the project is not yet completed and because of which the completion certificate and the occupancy certificate is not there, then the promoter needs to apply for an extension and it needs to give an extension application to the authority. So the registration which is granted under Section 5 may be extended by the authorities on an application made by the promoter due to force majeure in such form and on payment of such fee as may be specified by the regulatory authorities in their regulation. And as told to you previously, there needs to be reasonable circumstances without default on the part of the promoter, which the authority would going to do an assessment of. Post that assessment, they can grant an extension. And again, friends, this extension would not be more than 1 year. So you can understand, you have done all compliances, you have tried to complete the project at the best of your ability as a promoter, you have given all your QPRs, any of the changes you have done everything. Then the authority thinks that, yeah, yes, you are absolutely correct. It was the circumstances because of which you missed the deadline, and then in those circumstances, the authority would going to give you an extension. But that extension would not be more than 1 year. If in case any of the force majeure reason have came, any of the reasons which are beyond the control of the promoter, then only they can give a extension under the force majeure condition. In case the promoter seek an extension more than 1 year, then the exceptional case needs to exist apart from force majeure, and the authority have a right to reject these applications. So you can understand how important the completion of a project becomes for a life cycle of any of the project. If that completion is not being done, if the project construction got delayed, then it can lead to many cascading effect on the project, and because of it there could be problems at the end of the project. Friends, insurance of a project is a big opportunity, but it is yet to see the light of the day. The reason because none of the RERA authorities have notified with in consequence with the state government. So the state government needs to notify the insurance of the project, and post that the RERA authorities needs to implement it. So none of the state as of now have notified it, and because of it, the insurance of the project is not yet been implemented. But apart from this, whenever it is there, it becomes very important professional opportunity for us to guide and advise our client in regards of the insurance. Now, friends, we talk very specifically and understand the integrities of the completion certificate and the occupancy certificate. Just for a background, before 2016, the act, when the act didn't came in place, the importance of completion certificate and occupancy certificate was not much in majority of the states, leaving some of the states like Maharashtra, Gujarat. Post implementation of RERA, that is on 1st May 2017, there was a virtual bifurcation which happened between the projects. Having said that, the projects in which the completion certificate have been received on 1st May 2017, those projects got exempted from getting themselves registered from RERA. So this was an additional condition. First, we needed to see like if the project falls under RERA or not. That is, if the project is more than 8 units and 500 square meter, then the project falls under RERA. And if as of 1st May 2017, if the project had received its completion certificate, then it would be exempted from getting it registered with RERA because it is assumed that that project has already been completed and it has been delivered. So that was the thin line between the completed projects and the incomplete projects. And on 1st May 2017, the projects which was incomplete were supposed to get themselves registered within 3 months of the implementation of the Act with the RERA authorities, and the new projects which were launched in due course was required to be registered with the RERA authority. So this is the background and importance of the completion certificate and the occupancy. Now moving forward, from 2017 to 20, across the country, allottees was understanding this act, the developers was understanding the act, the consultants was understanding the act. And moreover, and over and above, the RERA authorities and the local government, the state government, the urban development ministry of the state was understanding the act because pre 2017 it had not much relevance in many of the states. So in these 2-3 years from 17 to 19-20, they were trying to understand what this completion, occupancy, and the projects was getting matured, the projects was getting completed, and so on and so forth. As we all know, 2021 was like COVID year, so these 2 years also went away. Then again, when the economy got to start, when they start working, then in 23, again, it went like a learning year or more or less an implementing year. So effectively, if the allottees, the developers, and the RERA authorities and the state government, all these stakeholders have understood the importance of the completion certificate and the occupancy certificate. So it is from last 2 to 3 years only when the importance of this completion certificate and the occupancy certificate have came and went into the knowledge of these developers and the stakeholders at large. So because of this, now the importance have become so much that now without this completion certificate and the occupancy certificate, the project is not considered as a completed project. So I just wanted to give you a background from where we have started with this concept of completion and occupancy. So this concept was not created in 2017. It was way back from the initial implementation of the Land Act of the state government. In all the acts, there was a mentioning of this completion and the occupancy certificate, but it was never been properly implemented by majority of the states. So just to understand, I have just reproduced the definition of this completion certificate and the occupancy certificate. So under the Act, under section 2, subsection Q, the completion certificate means the completion certificate or such other certificate by whatever name called issued by the competent authority certifying that the real estate project has been developed according to the sanctioned plan, layout plan, specifications as approved by the competent authority under the local laws. So this completion certificate definition was incorporated in the RERA Act. In section 2 ZF, the occupancy certificate has been defined, wherein it says means the occupancy certificate or such other certificate by whatever name called issued by the competent authority permitting occupancy of any building as provided under local law, which has provisions for civic infrastructure such as water, sanitation, and electricity. So combined together, the completion certificate and the occupancy certificate, it had become a very important element of a project which is being completed at the end, RERA end. So if we see the importance of a completion certificate, then it is a responsibility of a developer. So if we see section 11(4)(b), it gives and says, I have just reproduced it, be responsible to obtain completion certificate or the occupancy certificate or both. Why we have written the completion certificate or the occupancy certificate or both? The reason for this is in some of the state governments, only the occupancy certificate is required, which in itself implements that the completion have obtained and post completion, the occupancy certificate is being taken. And in some of the states, the completion certificate and the occupancy certificate goes hand in hand. So this is how the definition go. I just read it for the benefit of our viewers. Section 4, section 11(4)(b) of the RERA Act says, be responsible to obtain completion certificate or the occupancy certificate or both as applicable from the relevant competent authority as per the local law or other laws for the time being in force, and to make it available to the allottees, individuals, or to the association of allottees, as the case may be. So you can see how important this completion certificate and occupancy becomes while we hand over the projects. Then under section 17(2), I've again reproduced it for the benefit, which says after obtaining the occupancy certificate and handing over of the physical possession to the allottees in the terms of section Subsection 1. It shall be the responsibility of the promoters to hand over the necessary documents and plans, including common areas, to the association of the allottees or the competent authority as the case may be, as per the local law, provided that in absence of any local law, the promoter shall hand over the necessary documents and the plans, including common area, the association of allottees, or the competent authority, as the case may be, within 30 days after obtaining the occupancy certificate. So, this is what the importance of the completion and the occupancy certificate comes in place. That within the time frame, they have to hand over the project to the authorities. And similarly, the importance of this is there in the RERA Act. That in this Act, they needs to give the allottees a proper, a valid handover along with the occupancy and the completion certificate. In addition to the occupancy and completion certificate, an association of allottee needs to formulate and handing over is to be done to these association of allottees. That is under section 11 4E enables the formation of an association of a society or a cooperative society as the case may be of the allottees or a federation of the same under the law which are applicable. So in case these local laws, that is provided that in the absence of local law, the association of allottee by whatever name called shall be formed within a period of 3 months of the majority of allottees having booked their plot or apartment or building as the case may be in the project. So again, the formation of association for the completion of the project becomes a very critical and becomes a very vital and a very important role for any of the allottees which are there, and they need to abide with these rules and regulations. For the outgoing promoter, they need to hand over all the physical possession to the allottees by transferring. So maybe the proportionate share of the common area or maybe the specific area. So whatever area the landowner, the developer have given to the allottee, then in that case, the proportion land would also become a part. That is, the allottee would become a lawful owner of the proportion land which he is having in the apartment. In case of the promoter should pay all the unit holders, maybe in terms of any municipal tax or any water electricity charges or any maintenance charges till the date it have given the possession. And the liability of the allottee will not going to be there till they have got a valid possession. Maybe the mortgage of loan, any interest, any other liability, they all needs to be cleared by the outgoing promoter. And if he fails, then it would be the liability of the promoter itself that he would be paying if any of the balances are still left. It would not be the liability of the allottees if any of the amounts are being left by these promoters. So all the liabilities stand with the promoter. Post the completion, the allottees are having a right to take a valid position in terms of the registration, that is through the convenes, their undivided proportionate share in the common area, their physical possession of the area which they have bought. In addition, they need to hand over the common areas to the association. So whatever common area, maybe the park, maybe the lobby, maybe the staircases, maybe the uh, uh, community hall, STP, any of these common areas, if any of them are there, then they all needs to be handed over to the allottees. And as told that in absence of a local law, the conveyance deed must be carried out within 3 months from the date of issuance of the occupancy certificate. That is the most important and vital point which it needs to adhere. In addition to the completion, which needs to be a successful one, the developer needs to take care that no defect arise in the building for next 5 years. So any of the project which is there registered with the RERA, it is having a structural defect, workmanship, quality, liability, which can arise within 5 years from the occupancy certificate which the developer have received. And if any of the complaint is received from the allottees, then it needs to be rectified within 30 days of the day when the complaint is received. And if he fails, then the allottee can uh, approach to the authority, and then the authority can give compensation, can allot a compensation to the allottee. So friends, uh, again, like there's a big opportunity in terms of litigation, which is there in RERA, where Section 56 gives the right to the professionals like chartered accountants, cost accountants, company secretary, lawyers to represent to the RERA authority or to the tribunal. So again, that becomes a professional opportunity in case some allottee claims a wrong claimant from the promoters, or in case the promoter uh, are liable from the allottees in both for from the side of the allottee, from the side of the promoter, we can be representative of any of them as a representative for their particular case, and we can defend them. We can present their case in front of the RERA authority. Friends, in case a project is not completed, it is yet to be completed, and there is a changeover of a promoter, then again it becomes a professional opportunity for guiding such projects, maybe in case of transfer, where like two-thirds of the allottees needs to give a consent for such transfer. Any approvals, if such required from the RERA authorities, then that could be one which could be addressed. The new promoter, any obligation, if there are any transfer or assignment is not effective, then that could be addressed. The execution of the sale or the allotment of the allottees could be seen. So there are a lot of professional opportunities which do arise if in case any of the project seeks a transfer of a project, then a lot of opportunities are there. We as professionals. So moving forward, if we see the penalties as told to you, if any of the sections is not been complied, section 3, 4, any of the respective section may be uh, not proper maintenance of separate account, not giving proper information to the RERA authorities, then to an extent of 5% could be the penalty which the RERA authorities can impose on the project. So, as told to you, uh, this 5% is the project cost and the development cost. Uh, that is the land cost plus the development cost equals to the project cost, and 5% of that project cost could be the penalty which the RERA authority may impose because of these non-compliances, violations of the acts which was done. So that was all about these professional opportunities in terms of the compliances, in terms of the completion, in terms of like the registration and stuff. Now, specifically, if we check and see the professional opportunities for chartered accountants in RERA, then definitely like the registration process wherein we can come up, we can suggest the client, we can create a BOQ for the client, how the estimated costs are being calculated. We can assist these developers for their financial viability. If how like what would be the sale value, what would be the cost which would be involved, and we can calculate the uh, viability. Then registration compliances, we have like uh, checked like the registration compliances, maybe the documents, any of the supporting documents which we required, post registration, the quarterly compliances, certificate, maintenance of the project account, drafting of legal documents, maybe the joint developer agreement or agreement to sell or the sale deed, or like insurance or the issuance of any of the documents, compliances in terms of the requirement which are required, any assistance in preparation of the completion certificate, we can assist, we can vet, we can guide them. So these are the areas we can help and suggest in helping them in formation of the association of allottees, maybe in form of an company, maybe in form of a society, or like litigation or dispute resolution. We can help them uh, maybe at the reconciliation forum. Compliances of agents, that could be one of the area we can assist our clients. Then in terms of the consumer protection. We can give guidance to the allottee how they can take an exposure. You might have heard about luxurious real estate. Now, in terms of the real estate exposure of the allottees, there are 4 crores, 5 crores, 10 crores apartment which are coming. So we can assist these allottees who are going for these. Definitely, we can assist for the low value crore 50 lakh uh, allottees also, but you can understand the stakes which would be involved for a 5 crore, 10 crores asset if somebody is exposed, somebody is buying. So we can assist these consumers. We can do a cost management and a financial advisory to the developer by advising the financial planning. They can go through the project life cycle. They can go through. They can ensure their financial management with budget, which with their RERA timelines, we can assist them. So these are all like the professional opportunities which we can uh, uh, give assistance to our clients. Very simple skills and the capacity building in RERA is very simple. Just you need to go through the RERA Act, the state RERA regulations in depth, the knowledge of the building bylaws or like the sectorial regulation, the financial management skills which is required, the legal area like uh, uh, formation of documents like the builder buyer agreement or the joint developer agreement or real estate contract, uh, real estate valuation skill is like we some of us are practicing the valuation, then the project costing, land assessment, project valuation. These valuation skills can help us in uh, adding up value for a real estate consultant as a RERA consultant. So with this, I have uh, tried to tell you all about like a holistic picture about RERA, where from we have started, then where we are today, and what opportunities we do see at in various across the country. So this RERA we can practice across the country rather than from a state level sort. So these are all like opportunities which I just wanted to showcase. I would be happy that if any questions are there, feel free to put your questions in the chat box. This is my LinkedIn account. If you scan it, you can connect me on LinkedIn and feel free to connect and put your questions. And yeah, if any of the questions you are putting in the chat box, I would be happy to address those questions. So, yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful deliberation. We have a few questions here. I'll just quickly take it here, and the rest, if someone also have, they can connect you on personal as well. So one question that came from one of the participants is the plans for the one second. The plan for the township have been approved, and we now need to proceed with registering a specific plot within the development. However, the area for this particular plot is not mentioned explicitly in the approved plans or the development agreement. Only the architect can provide the exact area for this plot. Could you kindly advise what additional documentation or steps are needed to proceed with the registration of the project?
No, I think there is some gap either in my understanding or like placing the question, because if any of the plan is being sanctioned by any of the competent authority, that is a detailed plan where like the location of that land is there, the size of the land is there, which they are approving. So it looks to be very, uh, I can say, unconvincing where the land area is not given. Maybe like my dear friend can do a reassessment of the approved plan and can seek the approved plan from the developer whom he is like advising. And apart from that approved plan and the approved letter, can like segregate the documents in majority three parts. First part would be the land chain, the whole of the land chain from where the land got birth till date, like today. Normally, the authorities speak for 12 years or 30 years land chain. So, more or less, we can say like last 30 years life or 12-year life of the land needs to be given. Then moving forward about the project, that is the approval plans, the layout plans, maybe of a plotted development or a high rise, then that needs to be there. And lastly, the detailing of the promoter. That is, it might be an individual, LLP, or a company. So all the KYCs, all the documentation, these all are the three broad parameters which are required for any of the registration. Apart from that, there are some declaration, opening of bank account, and some you can say ancillary part of these three major parts of the documentation which is required and to be submitted in totality to the RERA authorities to just review and go through these chain of documents and then grant a registration.
Okay. Sir, we have next question that for rendering service in real estate sector, does CA have to be registered with any RERA authority?
No, not at all. Section 56 of the Act, which is a central act, gives permission to the chartered accountants to represent their clients. So representation is just not only for the litigation, it's also for the registration, for any of the compliances, for any of like the uh, uh, add-on advisory which a developer needs. And over and above, a real estate project comprises of two things majorly. One is the finance, that is money, and the second is the material. Material is the responsibility which the developer would going to procure from the finance management. Nobody could be better than a chartered accountant to advise a developer for their financial matters. So combined together, a real estate project is developed.
Okay. Sir, another question is, what is the fate projects of the commencement of Act? Second, does RERA prescribe
Sorry,
model?
I didn't got you. Can you please come again?
So the question is written is, what is the fate projects of the commencement of Act? I think the question itself is somewhere
No, yeah.
ambiguous.
My friend can send you the question and
Okay.
then we can address. Yeah.
So the next question is, does RERA prescribe model agreement to sell?
No, as of now, it is not. It's a prescribed format which has been given by the RERA, and that is all like which needs to be followed. As of now, like it's still pending with the Supreme Court. So once it has been done away from Supreme Court, might be then it would be implemented.
Okay. Next is, after RERA enactment, does Consumer Protection Act is still available to consumer?
Yes, the Consumer Protection Act is still the remedy under the Consumer Protection is still available. The allotee needs to decide which forum he wants to knock the door, maybe at the RERA forum or at the consumer. It is his sweet will where he can knock the door.
And the question is, does CA and architect have to directly upload their report on the RERA website, or they have to submit with the builder for uploading?
So basically, the CA and the developer and the builder needs to give it to the developer. The developer can do by themselves, or they can appoint the same CA or another CA for getting it complied to the RERA authority. So it depends on how the structure the developer creates, but like yes, it's a responsibility of the architect, engineer, and the chartered accountant to create a certificate and give to the developer. It may be that the same chartered accountant is taking a responsibility or the architect is taking the responsibility to upload this document to the RERA authority, or might be a third professional apart from this chartered accountant or the architect, maybe the developer in-house or third professional is doing this response, going with this response.
So the next question is, can a landowner and developer of colony ask for sale deed registration before getting completion certificate?
As per the Act, they cannot.
The question is, I have filed a correction application for amendment of land cost uploaded in the project. RERA is not responding. Is there a time limit for them to get back? Whom should I connect with?
There is no timeline as such for this. You can connect to the respective RERA authority in which you have filed this application. You can all the RERA authorities nowadays is having their website, so you can either call to them, either put an email to them for a reminder, or you can always drop down. All the RERA authorities are so simplified that they respond to any of the queries which somebody take. Might be because of any transactional issue, it might not have yet happened.
Next question, what is the difference between approaching consumer forum and RERA authority, sir?
So as such, there is no much difference, but if you can say in terms of timeline, the consumer forum takes much time as compared to the RERA. In terms of the documentation and understanding of the act and the law, now RERA is very specific towards real estate, where these problems, I can say it's a correct forum now as compared to consumer, because consumer there might be other matters of other streams, might not be real estate, maybe other consumer matters. So the understanding between the two forums are at a different levels. So yeah, majorly these are the difference between a RERA and the consumer forum. Or you can say if I say in another terminology, you can say one is a doctor who is an MBBS, and one is a specialized surgeon of a particular disease or a particular uh, performance which she needs to do.
Sure, sir. One more question is there. Which real estate projects are exempted from RERA? Is there any?
So any of the projects which are below 500 square meter or 8 units are exempted. So for example, you are making, I give a reverse example. You are making a project of which the land area is 501 square meter and the units are 7. Then it would be a project which is coming in the ambit of RERA. Other way around, you are making a project which is of 499 square meter, but is having a 9 units. Then that project would again going to come under the ambit of.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We are done with the questions and your deliberation. Thank you so much once again for taking your time to just help us with the RERA and every minute details about the act and laws here. And with this, I think we will wind up the session right now. I would request tech support if they have anything to do with further.
Thank you very much, Amar, and the team of Committee of Commercial Law and Economic Advisory and NPO Cooperatives are Honorable Chairman, Vice Chairman, whole Secretariat for giving this opportunity to interact with our members and share the latest which our members can practice and make themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.